Okay friends, welcome to part 10 of our video presentation of chapter 9. In this part we will talk about outsourcing as an alternative to internal information system development. So indeed, instead of developing an information system internally using SDLC or one of the agile methodology, an organization can decide to outsource a project, an information systems project, to another organization. In fact, outsourcing nowadays is quite common. I would say it was more common about 1 or 2 decades ago. At the end of 1990s or early 2000, that's when everybody was talking about outsourcing, especially in the context of IT or software development outsourcing. Everybody was saying that software jobs, IT jobs were being outsourced to India, to China, to a number of Eastern European countries. So this received a lot of coverage in the mass media, of course, controversial negative coverage where people were saying, well, the cycle of development of the IT industry is over. Just like manufacturing was eventually outsourced to Asia, now IT is being outsourced to Asia. We're still not there because the fashion in relation to outsourcing decreased over the years because companies realized that despite the fact that you have lower wages in certain countries, outsourcing sometimes is not a good idea, especially if you're talking about outsourcing some strategic capabilities. So I don't think outsourcing by any means has destroyed IT industry in Western countries. It's still but it's still there. I mean, outsourcing is still there, and it's widely practiced by a number of organizations. But of course, you can outsource not only application development and maintenance, but you can also outsource computer network operations and maintenance. Nowadays, you have all those capabilities related to remote desktop or server access, so somebody can even administer your network remotely. Now, at a very high level, there are two types of outsourcing. First of all, you have onshore outsourcing. It means contracting a company within the same country or region. So basically, it means you're outsourcing to a company that is within the same region, within the same country. And then you have something called offshore outsourcing. Offshore outsourcing means contracting with companies not within the same country or region. For example, again, if we talk about software industry or IT industry, I would say the most popular destination for outsourcing, especially when it comes to application development, is India. And there you have those huge outsourcing companies such as Tata Consulting. Then you have Wipro and a number of others. There are many nowadays very big outsourcing companies that are based in India. Well, they're international companies, but their origins go back to India. When it comes to customer support, Philippines is a very popular destination. In fact, they have those huge technoparks with call centers, so well-known software companies and also banks, especially from the United States. So basically, all those technoparks are connected using voice over IP technology, and whenever you're calling a particular bank or an IT company, you're actually reaching somebody in the Philippines who is responsible for tech support. Of course, the main driver behind offshore outsourcing is economic. Typically salaries of IT professionals in those countries are significantly lower. The last estimate that I saw was something like in India, an average cost of a software developer is 30% of what it would cost to hire a software developer in the United States. But of course, things are changing rapidly. I mean, the thing is, offshore outsourcing has been so successful in India that it's driving standards of living and wages of developers there. So maybe nowadays it's more than 30%. So the main attraction is cost, but of course, there are some risk. I mean, you have language and cultural barrier. You have a risk of piracy or theft of intellectual property because it's hard to control those projects remotely, and different countries have different legal structure in relation to intellectual property. More specifically, different mentality. Like in some countries, copying software is not a big deal and it's not considered to be a serious crime, while in the United States, for example, it is. Nevertheless, despite like all those problems related to legal barriers, culture, language, it's a good alternative. I mean, offshore outsourcing works really well when you outsource something straightforward, meaning when you can easily define the requirements and you can let your offshore partner, fulfill those requirements without much control. So it still works quite well, at least in some types of software application development projects. There are some other advantages of outsourcing application development. First of all, oftentimes you get the technical expertise that you may not have in-house. So instead of hiring somebody or training somebody, you just get it by paying for it, and you get it immediately. It also provides you an opportunity for temporarily expand capacity of your IT workforce or IS workforce without hiring anybody full-time. And then also what you can do once you outsource certain task to your offshore or onshore partner, you will free up your own internal IS resources to do some work on strategic projects, something that is essential to performance of your company. But again, the potential advantages of offshore outsourcing in general, lower labor cost and 24/7 availability, because a lot of the times those call centers in India and in the Philippines, and even probably IT teams, like for example network support teams, they work in several shifts. I saw it myself when I traveled to the Philippines. I saw, I visited some of their technoparks, and also I noticed like sometimes I would wake up at 7 a.m. in the morning and I would in downtown Manila, and I would go to have some coffee. And I see like all those workers from call centers, they're getting off work from 7. So basically I think their shift is like from midnight until 7 a.m. And I see all of them getting off work and they're all going home. So they work 24/7 around the clock. Again, I told you that initially everybody was raving about outsourcing. Everybody was saying, well, all the IT jobs will go to those countries. Well, it didn't happen because, as it turns out, outsourcing is not a straightforward, it's not an outsourcing relationship is not a straightforward problem-free relationship. And sometimes you do save money due to the difference in labor cost. But if you add other considerations and risk, then sometimes outsourcing is not a good deal overall. Because of the problems that many companies encountered in relation to outsourcing, they developed certain best practices on managing those outsourcing relationships. First of all, so let's go through those principles or best practices. First of all, you need to manage expectations, not staff. Now, one thing you need to understand is that when you work with the outsourcing partner, especially an international one, right, you're not going to change their culture. You're not going to change their legal framework. You're not going to change their practices. And that's not your intent. I mean, if you want to, if you want somebody to fully comply with your vision, with your organization culture, then you need to hire somebody and train somebody, right? So when you're outsourcing something, you need to understand that there's so much you can do to change the way your partner operates. So if you accept that as being true, then don't change them. Don't manage staff. Manage your own expectations. Just be sure that you know what you can get and what you cannot get out of your outsourcing partner. Also, you need to take explicit actions to integrate the offsite workers. I mean, you do need to have some. I mean, I think most companies, they do have some degree of face-to-face interaction. For example, their outsourcing partners would come once a year, to hang out with other team members, just to know more about the company. And so that, and also people, who work in your own office, they will get to know your, outsourcing partners and perhaps develop personal relationships, something that will be of great help, when they work remotely. Communicate frequently. I mean, communication is essential. I mean, everybody knows that. Everybody who worked remotely knows that it's easy to kind of get lost, or it's easy to lose workers, when you don't interact face to face. So that's why communication has to be like, very, like a regiment. I mean, you need to communicate regularly. At regular intervals, you need to have certain updates. Otherwise, it's easy to lose connection, emotional connection, business connection, if you don't communicate frequently with those offshore outsourcing partners. Use a project management office. Project management skills still apply. You need to manage those people, and in fact, it's even more important to practice sound project management principles with those remote partners. So you may want to consider establishing a project management office and let it run, all those outsourcing relationships remotely. And start small. Like don't outsource everything. Start with something that is small, that is not strategic. See how it works, and then if it works out well, then try to expand a little bit. Use secure and redundant communication links. Again, you're communicating remotely with different countries that may have different laws in relation to privacy, to intellectual property protection, different security levels. So you may want to use secure, maybe encrypted communication, and also make sure you can talk to your outsourcing partners in a number of ways. For example, if internet is not working, you can call them. Because connection sometimes is a problem. And also hire legal expertise for offshore contracts. Again, you're dealing with different countries. If something goes wrong, you may not be able to do anything about it unless you have somebody who advised you in the first place about the legal climate, legal environment in the country where your partner is. So those are some of the best practices in relation to outsourcing, but especially offshore outsourcing, I would say. Okay, so this concludes part 10 of our video presentation. Thank you for listening.